In the 15th century, spices and silks from Asia were highly prized in Europe, but the land routes were long, dangerous, and heavily taxed. European merchants desperately needed a faster, cheaper sea route to the Indies. The race was on to find a new path across the vast oceans. Enter Christopher Columbus, an ambitious Italian explorer with a radical idea. He believed he could reach the East by sailing west. Most educated people already knew the Earth was round. However, Columbus miscalculated its size, thinking the ocean was much smaller than it actually was. To make this journey, he needed money and ships. He first presented his bold plan to the King of Portugal, but he was firmly rejected. Refusing to give up, Columbus traveled to Spain. He spent years trying to convince King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to sponsor his expedition. Finally, in 1492, after Spain defeated its rivals, the Monarchs agreed. They granted him 3 ships and promised him titles and wealth if he succeeded. Columbus was given a crew of about 90 men and 3 famous ships, the small Niña, the fast Pinta, and his flagship, the Santa Maria. On August 3, 1492, the small fleet sailed out of a Spanish port, heading into the terrifying, unknown waters of the Atlantic Ocean. For weeks, they saw nothing but endless water. The journey took much longer than Columbus had predicted, and supplies began to slowly run low. The crew grew terrified and restless. They had sailed further from land than any European sailors before them. Whispers of a mutiny began to spread. To calm his men, Columbus made a desperate promise. If they did not spot land within a few days, they would turn the ships around. Just when hope seemed lost, the crew began to notice signs. Flocks of birds flew overhead, and branches with fresh leaves floated in the water. Early in the morning on October 12, 1492, a lookout on the Pinta spotted a dark shape on the horizon. He shouted, "Land! Land!" Columbus stepped ashore on a small island in the Bahamas. Believing he had successfully reached Asia, he planted the Spanish flag in the sand. He named the island San Salvador. However, he was not in Asia at all. He had accidentally discovered a continent completely unknown to Europe. The island was already inhabited by the Taino people, a peaceful and welcoming indigenous group. Columbus famously and mistakenly called them Indians. For the next few months, Columbus sailed from island to island, exploring what is today known as Cuba and Hispaniola, desperately searching for gold. Disaster struck on Christmas Day when the Santa Maria crashed into a coral reef and sank. The ship had to be completely abandoned. Using the wrecked wood, Columbus ordered his men to build a small fort named La Navidad, leaving 39 men behind as the first European settlement. In early 1493, Columbus began the dangerous journey back to Spain aboard the Niña, surviving massive storms that threatened to sink them all. He arrived back in Spain to a hero's welcome. He presented Queen Isabella with gold, strange new plants, and several captive indigenous people. This voyage triggered the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, culture, and tragically, diseases between the Old World and the New World. Columbus would make 3 more voyages across the Atlantic, exploring the coasts of Central and South America, still insisting he was somewhere in Asia. Despite his massive discovery, Columbus was a poor governor. His harsh rule led to chaos, and he was eventually arrested and brought back in chains. He was later pardoned by the king, but his reputation was ruined. Meanwhile, other explorers proved that these lands were an entirely new continent. Because another explorer, Amerigo Vespucci, recognized it was a distinct landmass, the new continents were eventually named America instead of being named after Columbus. Columbus died in 1506, still believing he had found a route to Asia. Today, his historical legacy is highly debated and very complex. To some, he is a brave pioneer who connected 2 halves of the globe. To others, he represents the devastating destruction of native civilizations. Regardless of how he is viewed, one absolute fact remains. The voyages of Christopher Columbus permanently changed the course of human history forever.